What's it been like? 11 years of Swiggy and 5 of Instamart.
One of the first things that I did when quick commerce essentially started with Instamart was to say that, it's not going to work. Who needs anything in, I don't know,
In 10 minutes. Yeah. Naysayers.
Absolute naysayers to that.
What is the relationship like as far as the FMCG business is concerned with them?
I refer to it as the OTTfication of commerce. We are probably the cheapest way for a lot of these brands to put products in the hands of consumers who care for it.
I mean, it's giving hyperlocal a completely new meaning, isn't it?
There is one consumer base in the same geography that are looking for cheese. There is another consumer base that is looking for paneer. So the way our assortment comes in, it allows for that level of identification.
Is it still about the 10 minutes or has that changed significantly?
A consumer that depends on quick commerce, when they come up and fire search for the item that they look for, needs to be available in less than 10 minutes.
At this point in time, it seems to have emerged as a 3-horse race.
Every one of us probably has grown up on a Parle or a Cadbury or a Surf, right? And then you realize that you are one amongst them.
You're the Parle and Cadbury of this
just
generation.
Swiggy is a verb in many parlances.
What is the dream 5-10 years out for Swiggy and for Instamart?
100 million people coming to our platform and transacting 15 times.
What would you consider as the big pain points?
There are a lot of flirters in our quick commerce business.
What are they flirting with you for?
They come for Rakhi, right? I think compared to
and then
last,
forget about you.
Not forget, they still come back, but they have not transferred all of their buying onto Instamart.
From 0 orders on day 1 to millions each month, Swiggy is hoping to redefine convenience for India. What started as a food delivery app is today a multi-service platform with over 2.5 lakh restaurants, 5.4 lakh delivery partners, and a growing suite of services from dining out to entertainment. And then came Instamart. Launched in the middle of a pandemic, in just 5 years, it's expanded to over 125 cities, delivering everything from fresh vegetables to smartphones and, yes, even gold. Hello and welcome to Young Turks Reloaded. I'm Shereen Bhan, and on the show today, we decode the journey of building category-defining businesses with 2 leaders at the heart of this evolution. Phani, Kishan, co-founder and chief growth officer at Swiggy, and Amitesh, the CEO of Instamart. It's 11 years of Swiggy and 5 years of Instamart. Phani, Amitesh, many thanks for joining us here on Young Turks Reloaded. Phani, I'm going to start by asking you, you've pretty much been through this journey, 11 years of Swiggy and 5 of Instamart, and it's literally just 1 year exact to this month for you, Amitesh. Phani, what's it been like? 11 years of Swiggy and 5 of Instamart.
Yeah, no, I think firstly, thanks a lot, Shane, for having us over here. And it's great to be back. You guys have been, as I said, seminal in how startups have been covered over the years. And it's great to be back on the show after a long time, right? I think we were just speaking about it. It's relativity, right, at its best. When you love what you're doing, it doesn't seem like 11 years at times. So lots of memories. I think, when people ask about my professional career, I say, I don't know what I did before because everything.
Yeah, you consulting and then decided that you wanted to get a slice of the startup ecosystem, right?
And so it's been here. So we've grown up together in many ways, whether it's me, Harsh and Andy. We've had our ups and downs. But I was telling this recently someone as well, if I could do it all over again, there's nothing else I would do. I'm perfectly at the place where I would like to be at this point in time. So quite an awesome journey in the last 11 years.
Yeah, well, it has been for you and it has been for the business as well. But Amitesh, 10 years almost at Flipkart before you then decided that quick commerce was going to be your calling. How different is the quick commerce world from the e-commerce world?
Yeah, first of all, it's 14 years. And secondly, I think this is something that I kind of say to a lot of people. It's very, very also very true to my heart. One of the first things that I did when quick commerce essentially started with Instamart was to say that, it's not going to work.
You were not the only one. You were not the only one. I think there were. I can't even remember how many premature obituaries were written about quick commerce.
Yeah, absolutely. We said, it's a fad. It's not going to work. People will buy. Economics will not work. This is something that we have seen multiple times. They burn cash. We know everything about consumers. Who needs anything in, I don't know, 10 minutes?
Yeah.
That's the concept that we essentially started with. And I was also one of the people who were absolute naysayers to that. But I think one of the first things that happened to me specifically, and that's the reason I also joined this, is first of all, my own habit. I mean, in spite of everything, in spite of being the naysayer saying that it's not going to work, I could not move away from. Once I started, it was an addiction.
Yeah.
And I think that's the primary reason. And I think there are very rare instances. I think e-commerce was also one of them. When people actually started using it, they actually realized that they're going to get things that they normally don't get, and it was a big change in the way people buy. This is the second such change, and that's the reason I joined Instamart, especially because they were the leader, and the kind of things that they do is something which was very, very underappreciated by everyone in the market, except for the consumers.
The expectation at this point in time is that businesses like Instamart and, of course, your peers are also going to do far more than the food delivery business itself.
Of course.
What are we talking about, in terms of the avenues for growth from here on and the headroom to be able to get to that point of exponential growth, for instance, in grocery, which is expected to be the next holy grail, so to speak?
Yeah, that's true, actually. I think a lot of this also comes down to the size of the different markets that we play in, right? I think the grocery and the commerce industry with which we're going after in quick commerce is 10 to 15 times larger than the food delivery market. I think there is a time and place that food delivery also will become large. If you look at the West, food delivery and grocery are kind of equal in size in the US, but that's going to take a little bit of time, right? But as things stand today, the grocery market is $600 billion large. The retail commerce side would be under 300. So it's $1 trillion market that we're talking about. And it's growing, at a very conservative level, 5%, and maybe aggressive 7-8%, right? And even at the lower bound of the range, it's $50 billion of new spending that is getting added into the consumer markets every year. This industry is $10 billion. So we believe that the headroom for expansion is just structural. We don't need to do much. What we need to do is, as Amitesh said, be there for the consumer, a 15-year-old or a 50-year-old, if not more. There is an occasion for which Instamart becomes relevant for you. And that makes the size of the opportunity itself much, much larger than a food delivery, which is probably pigeonholed into a little bit more like 20 to 35-year-old using it.
What are the trends that you're seeing now on the platform when we talk about the kinds of purchases that people are making? The value of the orders has gone up significantly as well. What's the repeat that you're also starting to now see?
Obviously, when we started out, our focus was primarily on two categories. We said perishables.
Yeah.
Things that you require, it could be fruits and vegetables, it could be paneer, it could be milk, things that you require on a fairly frequent basis. And the other one was indulgences, right? Chips, ice creams, colas, stuff like that, right? And when we talk to a lot of these cola companies, chips companies, they do come and tell us we are actually increasing the size of the market in many, many ways, right? So it started out that way. And then, consumer expectations are almost always ahead of what the business can deliver in some of these cases, right? We started people wanting other products, right? And it started off by simply saying cooking essentials like oil and atta and shampoos and stuff like that. And then now we have 35,000 products available to the consumers in 10 to 15 minutes.
You said that the feedback from cola companies, chip makers, etc., was that you're helping grow the market.
Yeah.
But if you talk to FMCG players and you look at what FMCG companies have been reporting, sales growth, volume growth has been flat. Not just for the past year, but for the past several years. So how do you then decipher this kind of dichotomy of what you're saying and what the commentary is from FMCG companies?
Yeah, actually that's true, right? And see, I'll tell you what, at the end of the day, to be honest, we are still a platform that caters to the top 10, 20, 30 million households in the country at this point of time, right? Maybe there's a point of time when we'll become much more widespread in the base that we go after. But this is about the top 100 million people. We've acquired less than 50 million people in Instamart so far, right? So we're still talking about, the tier 1 or SEC as they speak, right? And if you peel the onion and look at it, the volume growth is flattish. The sales growth and the revenue growth for all these guys is still in depending on the company, between 10 to 20%, right? And that's coming from a fair bit of premiumization push that they end up doing.
Correct.
And in that sense, I refer to it as the OTTification of commerce in many ways. If you think about a few years back when TV, and you guys are obviously more familiar with it, but when it's just mainstream TV, a show like a Sacred Games or any of this would be very difficult to actually put out because you have to create something for the masses that plays at scale.
Yeah.
But at this point of time, we are probably the cheapest way for a lot of these brands to put products in the hands of consumers who care for it. So a selection in a GK2 versus a Saket versus an East Delhi versus a Rohini can be very different, and brands are actually adapting to that use case. And there's a big push towards premiumization that they're anyway going towards, in which we are helping them in whatever way, either through data or through the platform.
I like that term, the OTTification of commerce. But to talk about the point that was just made, I mean, it's giving hyperlocal a completely new meaning, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, to say that the buyer in Rohini versus the buyer in Saket will want a completely different cart, a completely different assortment. Now, does that add to your complexity? I mean, how do you cater for that?
Yeah, absolutely. See, I think as Phani was mentioning, it's very hard for any brands to reach the end consumer at a very micro level. They will always try to get to a channel that reaches the last mile as close as they can. What we do is obviously we have an app, so we can actually reach the end consumer at that. So there are two levels of market that we essentially look at. One is obviously a micro market, as we essentially call it, a Rohini or a Saket, to make sure that we have the right assortment for that place. And consumers will give us enough indication of what they are looking for, what they are searching for, to make sure that it essentially happens that way. The other piece is that even in a micro market, there are hyper-local vagaries that generally are not very understood if you are looking from a channel play, which is just looking at putting an item on the shelf. What it says is that there is one consumer base in the same geography that are looking for cheese. There is another consumer base that is looking for paneer. You have to cater to both.
Yeah.
So the way our assortment comes in play, because we have obviously a much larger assortment than your typical modern trade outlet as well, it allows for that level of identification.
While you've expanded your assortment quite significantly, you've also learned from your experiences of doing away with things that were not working for you, which has also helped unit economics, and that's being reflected in the numbers now. What have been some of the learnings there of what you've done away with and what you intend to now prioritize?
See, I think the things that we did very specifically are the things that we don't do well. For example, at one point in time, our F&B selection was very, very high. Our largest category is milk. One of the big use cases is that when consumers are looking for it, it could be at the time when you are trying to make an evening tea, that should be available. So for us, it was very, very important to let go a lot of the assortment of milk, which was stale, but make sure that the milk which is the consumers need are available at the time when they essentially require it. That is where the power of the quick commerce actually comes in play. So we have done those kind of assortment rejig that make sure that the item is available when they want it. If you want a flower in the morning, it has to be there. If you want flower in, for example, Ganesh Chaturthi, it has to be there all the day.
And yet you ran out of Rakhis last year.
Yeah, we did. I think one of the things one of the big changes that we have seen lately is that there are specific occasions where consumers who generally don't buy on quick commerce are also moving to quick commerce. And I think for us, that is the biggest green shoot that we can.
But what have been some of the surprising categories that you thought would not take off and have actually taken on much better than your own expectations?
I mean, I think I would just maybe give the segue for Amitesh, but the last year, I would say our commerce foray has grown and how, right? If you look at something like home and kitchen, I think we probably have the best selection out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think beauty and personal care is one of the bigger movement that has happened recently. A lot of that is also because we have the right assortment in place. You don't have assortment, it will not work. But it is mostly led by the end consumer. Ultimately, they go search for it. If it is not available, you get it in our data that says that people are looking for it and they don't have it available. So that was one of the big things. Gold, because that's very important. When I came in September, and I said, are they crazy? The number that they are planning to, because it's gold, right? All of that you'll buy, and what if we are not able to sell? And again, the same thing happened. We ran out of the gold that was actually the highest ASP among all of them. The
big moat for FMCG was distribution. And in a way, you've taken away that moat that they enjoyed, at least for the larger players. What is the relationship like as far as the FMCG business is concerned with them?
I think it's always been win-win from the start. There's some parts I don't like because 70% of the search queries on our platform are generic. People do go and search for milk. People do and go search for shampoo. People do and go and search for atta. So the market leader who in an offline market probably has better placement starts to get a little bit more democratized, right? Which is the power of the platform in many ways. So we do actually have a platform in which a new entrant can also
take my point,
right? But that said, I do think if you look at it from the wider picture of premiumization push that we spoke about, this is the best platform. I mean, if you look at colas, and I keep giving this example many times, in the offline markets, what they typically refer to as diets and lights, which is Coke Zero or Pepsi Black, right, is 5% or less than 5% of the market. Online, it's 40%.
Wow.
Right? We sell more liquid detergent on our platform than we do powder, which is the predominant way in which offline works. And similar with body washes as opposed to soaps, right? So in that sense, it's a platform in which people continue to look at new trends that are coming in. For example, when Makhna was coming in or Korean is coming in, it's a trend that we latched on. We explained a lot to our partners about what's happening in consumer preferences. And, for example, one of the biggest players in Korean noodles for us right now was not historically very strong in noodles at all. Right? So, and it's an MNC again.
Right.
So in that sense, I think the win-win comes from the ability to share trends, ability to premiumize the audience, ability to stock products in the right place, in the right way.
So in this, mix of assortment and adding SKUs and so on and so forth, where does the quick then fall? I mean, first it was all about 10-minute deliveries, and that was what each one of you was sort of going at the consumer and going at each other with as well. Less and less of that one hears, is the quick not much of a draw? I mean, is it, or how are you seeing that change? Is it still about the 10 minutes or has that changed significantly?
See, I think the bar that we have put is extremely high. And consumers now expect it as a base case. Okay,
so you don't have to say 10 minutes anymore. You don't have to say it.
I mean, it's an expectation. If you don't... see, one of the things that we always keep on saying, a consumer that depends on quick commerce, when they come up and fire search for the item that they look for, needs to be available in less than 10 minutes. These are the two things which are important for them.
All the data, for example, that we look at talks about how our conversions are impacted.
If you're slower.
If you're slower versus faster, right?
And what's the cost of getting faster?
Yeah, actually, I just want to explain that, right? See, the way the flywheel works for us is to put a base network to deliver at a particular speed costs you X amount of rupees, right? But once the flywheel starts spinning, and how does the flywheel spin? I am there. I can deliver what product you want at the speed at which you want. Means more customers come in. And as more customers come onto the platform, we open more stores up. And as more stores get opened, we are closer to the consumer.
Right.
And being closer to the consumer means, of course, you're faster. It's also cheaper.
But speaking about growth and expansion, what investors want clarity on, and I think some amount of that has been provided in your analyst commentary as well, is that for now, in terms of infrastructure, investments have kind of been done. Amitesh?
So there are two metrics that we look.
Yeah.
What is the speed of delivery? And what is the square foot area that we have for our... So in both of the context, for speed of delivery, we'll be investing. Because as and when the orders go up, as Phani was speaking about, we'll have to split stores because the orders are higher. But in general, across the board, our footprint of the stores is actually quite high. We think we have invested ahead of curve.
So
and that is the
contribution margin positive?
Absolutely. I think the way we have said is that ultimately the contribution margin positive will come from obviously getting our supply chain costs right, our revenue sources right, and making sure that ultimately the average order value, which is the most, the absolute reason why the contribution margin essentially happens, is on the upside. So we increase a lot. So if you look at our last quarter result, annually we have increased it by more than 20% point. And that is a path that we will be keeping on taking. And of course, the increased assortment has a huge role to play to that. The non-grocery stuff, which was, I think, around 7%, has crossed 18% now. And it's a path that we will be keeping. Yes, all these items that are non-grocery, their ASPs are higher. And obviously, the margins that we make out of each of the item is also higher. So we will be on that path.
So where do you see the friction then at this point in time? Or what would you consider as the big pain points?
The biggest friction is that when consumers depend on you, your ability to essentially disappoint them is the most. And ultimately, the way any good retail business grows is always making sure that when consumers come back to you, they have no reason to go essentially away from it. That's our biggest challenge. The second challenge that we face right now is that there are a lot of flirters in our quick commerce business.
What are they flirting with you for?
They come for Rakhi, right? I think compared
and
to
then forget about you.
Not forget. They still come back, but they have not transferred all of their buying onto Instamart, even the indulgences as well.
Yeah.
The other piece which will come in play, not immediately right now, is there are a lot of consumers now who are there who do look at price and value as an important essentially aspect. So we recently launched our Max Saver construct that essentially allows more discount with obviously a hurdle on the average order value that you can give. This is the best adoption that we have seen for any product. I think more important among that is that it has the best retention as well. So even new consumers who are ordering on Max Saver are retaining. So if it's the second order is, for example, Max Saver, they are retaining higher than any other consumer essentially across the platform.
You know, and discounts is a sensitive issue, and it always has been, because you've got the offline retailers body going after, you know, guys like you all the time, raising this issue with the government, saying that essentially this is predatory pricing and it's costing them. So how do you respond then to that criticism? How do you then respond to that claim? Because this does continue to remain a regulatory overhang, doesn't it?
Yeah, see, the prices, I mean, we are very transparent in the way we do business. We inform all the sellers of ours that what is the prices in our system. And of course, we essentially make sure that people are aware, because ultimately sellers have to actually sell it to the end consumer as well. See, one of the things that we always track is that how discounted we are compared to the players in the market. Believe me, if you include all the prices associated with it, we are not a value player at all. We are a player that focuses on indulgences and makes sure that it essentially is looking at that way. So if you look at overall pricing in Instamart specifically, I will not call it really competitive. I'll call it value for sure, because you have to make sure that consumers do get value. Yeah. But from a pure pricing discount final value of the item, it is not competitive at all.
At this point in time, it seems to have emerged as a 3-horse race. And of course, there's a couple of others.
The last I counted was 7. But,
but essentially a 3-horse race at this point in time. You know, how do you deal with competition?
In a category that's growing 100%, a multi-billion-dollar category that's growing 100%, if you're waking up every day to thinking, what is the guy next to you doing and what is the share, I think you're going to be doing something wrong. Right? The bigger focus should always be on how do you grow the pie? How do you actually see this market growing? I don't know how many businesses will complain being a $25 billion GM business and saying, oh, I'm number 2, right? Like, I mean, I don't think we wake up. For us, the energy that comes for us is actually on how are we delivering to the consumer? How are we actually giving that young mother at 12 o'clock in the night that thermometer that she cares for? I mean, people have asked me in the past, what has been the most happiest memory or coming of age memory for me? It's not been when we raised a round of funding. It's not actually been when we've done our IPO. It's actually been when one day I woke up and said, I think 25% of Bangalore orders from us on a monthly basis. You know, the scale of that impact, right? There are brands that you wake up growing up, idolizing. Every one of us probably has grown up on a Parle or a Cadbury or a Surf, right? And then you realize that you are one amongst them.
You're the Parle and Cadbury of this
just Swiggy it is a verb in many, many parlances. That gives us the energy, right? I mean, the way we'll gain market share is not by doing more of the same. It's by unlocking a new use case for the user that puts you as the number one player that they want to go to, right? And that's what gives us the energy. Negative energy can last you in the short term, like, wanting to beat someone, but it's the positive energy that I think plays out in the longer term.
Well, speaking about new opportunities and opening up and unlocking new markets, Bolt, for instance, it's an idea that you're sticking with, which is giving fast food an entirely different new meaning. But, your competitors have decided to drop that and not go down that road. They experimented with it as well. What is working for you? Why have you decided to stick with it? What's the plan and the aspiration?
We are actually seeing a lot of customer love. If you go and observe and we do our research about, hey, who do you think comes up number one when you think of quick food delivery, right? Yeah. We are amongst the sort of people who are there. So when consumers really like something, it's incumbent on the business to figure out how do you enable it. And we were speaking about this earlier as well. The tricky part of delivering Bolt is actually the technology challenge. It's the orchestration of the delivery partner, the customer, the restaurant in real time while meeting the SLA promise in a good cost. That is the core moat on which the food delivery business is getting built, right? And therefore, I wouldn't say we've fully cracked the problem, but this whole element of when we prioritize deliveries for these Bolt or Black customers, how do you still manage the complexity of giving great experience for the rest is the problem that we continuously crack. I can't speak for competition here. I think we look at our data, we feel comfortable with what we're seeing as the impact on customers, and now it's incumbent on us to grow that market. There's a lot that we need to do. I think if you're a few quarters away from it reaching its true potential.
What could it be a few quarters down the line?
I
mean, what's the aspiration? Since you always overshoot your numbers anyway, what are the numbers that you're working with?
No numbers right now on this. But see, today it's I would think a high mid-teen number that we have, which is the contribution of Bolt to the platform. I don't know what the future holds in lieu for that, right? That said, it's important for us to also start working closely with the restaurant industry as well to start making changes in the supply chain that enables delivery of these quick products. Not every product can be made to deliver fast. I mean, finally, there's a preparation time involved.
Yeah.
If there's something like a bakery item which doesn't require preparation item, it can be delivered faster. If it's something that's like a biryani which doesn't require a lot of preparation, it can get delivered faster. But so we'll have to find and curate the right set of items. So that's a long-term journey, right? We have 300,000 restaurant partners that we work with.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a few quarters down the line. I don't really have a goal, but we do think it's a meaningfully large part of our business today, and it will only grow in relevance.
What it means then in terms of the size of your dark stores, in terms of how you manage inventory, that's where I guess what it boils down to.
So there are certain categories that will always be harder to do in LA quick commerce because of the nature of the business, like fashion. You cannot have the kind of assortment that a typical fashion outlet essentially has, or even what e-commerce essentially has. What we will do is that in general, in all of these categories, we are going to take the use cases like the kurta that I essentially brought, right? I'll make sure that those kind of items are essentially available. We believe that in general, the assortment that we are looking at, there are some stores, by the way, in Bangalore and I think one in Gurgaon as well, that has more than 45,000 assortment right now and has the capacity to go to 60,000. We believe that is enough assortment to cater to the needs of the consumers from a quick commerce point of view. Will it mean that for fashion I can sell everything? Absolutely not. And we don't need to do that as well. But there are things, for example, you want to gift a bed sheet, that may not be fashion, but for example, if you want to essentially gift a bed sheet or buy a kurta for an occasion, or you buy a shirt that works in Goa, for example. You don't want to go offline and find exactly where it is. Those are the kind of the use cases that we'll be having.
So when do you believe Instamart is going to become a verb like Swiggy is? Or do you feel closer to that moment, Amitesh?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I don't think we will be at the Swiggy level. That I think is something that is once in a lifetime. I mean, companies being Verb is and we would want it to remain that way. I think one of the things that we have seen is for our consumers, it's already a Verb. Okay, that is something that we have seen. We have to make sure that there are more consumers who come and make it a Verb for us.
But speaking of getting more consumers onto the platform, where do you now see the influx, so to speak? Is it largely going to? Do you believe that the urban is getting to a point? Still underpenetrated. Still underpenetrated.
So we looked at general data as well. The quick commerce penetration in proper urban, where you would expect it to be very high, still lower than the modern trade penetration. So I think there's still 2 to 3 years of clear opportunity available there. T2, T3 is like whole ocean still essentially actually lying there. We believe, as we said, right, we are in Bhubaneswar, we are in Patna, we are going all the places. Those cities really surprise us. I mean, I think
what's been the biggest surprise in operating in a Patna, in a Bhubaneswar, etc.?
I think Patna we launched and in like 4 or 5 days it reached universally 1,000 orders without even advertising or even informing people. It looked like almost that the consumers were waiting for us to come there. I think the biggest surprise across all the cities that we have gone is consumers are waiting. Okay, and for us that's the biggest validation of why it will work eventually as well.
Amitesh is from Bihar, so like maybe that affiliation as well.
That helped. That helped.
Oh, yeah,
as
my
well.
wife was asking that, do you send Rakhi to Bhagalpur, which is my hometown, and I'm like, no, abhi wahan pe nahi pahunche.
I like the network of wives and mothers that are supplying Swiggy with first-hand information on what is needed on Instamart. But let's talk about the future now. 5 years on, given everything that we've spoken of in terms of consumer trends and consumer insights, where do you believe you're not yet at? What could potentially be exciting opportunities that you may want to consider? Are there pilots at this point in time that are being incubated at the back end?
Yeah, maybe I'll talk a little bit about the broader platform and Amitesh can talk about Instamart, right? So, see, at Swiggy, it's been convenience. Our mission has always been to say, how do we elevate the quality of life by delivering unparalleled convenience? And we constantly keep looking at ways in which we can find new ways in which we deliver convenience, right? Our vision has never been a dude on a bike, delivering stuff from place A to place B. It so happens that the two largest businesses that we have today are actually a dude on a bike delivering stuff from place A to place B. But we now have a dine-out business category, right? Where you can go to any restaurant that you want, get a discount, book a table, make a reservation, celebrate something. We've just recently launched a platform called Crew, which is like a concierge service, right? Where it could be about making a reservation in a restaurant. It could be tickets to a Coldplay concert or a Taylor Swift concert. It could be traveling abroad and you want a visa. It could be a birthday gift. We believe that the rise of AI has enabled a lot of these costs to come down substantially in the last 10 years, where we can provide, a premium concierge service at a very, very competitive price point to millions of people. We are tinkerers. We keep trying stuff. Unfortunately, the nature of innovation is that you're more, you see more failure than you would like to succeed. But then our belief is, if you are successful, it should be a home run, right? So
and what qualifies as a home run? How do you define a home run?
We do have some definitions internally about it.
What are the definitions?
I think finally it comes down to how many users, how many users, and how many times do they come up and use our platform. I spoke about this earlier as well, right? Our long-term mission, we have not put a timeline to this. Our really long-term mission is 100 million people coming to our platform and transacting 15 times every month. Today, it's probably like close to 20 million, 5 times. And the long-term vision is that. And we look at new opportunities saying, hey, do they bridge a little bit more of that gap and a little bit more of that gap and a little bit more of that gap across a period of time. So in that sense, we do have some exciting stuff. We keep experimenting with another platform called Ping, where white-collar workforce can be available on demand to you, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But on Instamart, we have many things.
Yeah, I think some of those I can't say, unfortunately. There's something under wraps. But but you're right. See, ultimately, consumers' requirement will always be that will require a different kind of output as well. So there are 2 or 3 different things that we are also trying in the Instamart scheme of things, which means faster delivery. We don't want to go essentially beyond that. And we believe that, some of them could be potentially very, very large businesses in the future. But obviously, the basics, what we do, will essentially keep on happening. Our biggest thing is always to make sure that the items that consumers least expect are available at that point of time. Bulk of our work is actually on that. I mean, just yesterday, I was going through a new note from the team that spoke about that. Just like example, in baby foods, example, essentially Cerelac is the go-to. They are trying to build new food context, which is more based on things like ragi and all that you can get. So all those keeps on happening. But yes, there are big plans for Instamart. Unfortunately, still under wraps on that.
Still under wraps. But, to the point that you made, that most people see your business, both your businesses, Swiggy and Instamart, as dudes on bikes going from point A to point B. And very often people say, but what's the tech in this? How does that make you feel? Because the natural assumption is to kind of downplay the tech and say that this is largely a logistics business. How does that make you feel? Yeah,
there's a very famous quote of one of the Bansals on this. I'm not going to go into it, but if it was easy, a lot of people would be doing it at this point of time. But I mean, see, as I said, like the the big complexity, every business is complex in its own way, so I don't want to, take any credit away from it. Our complexity is primarily coming from the fact that on a real-time basis, there are like so many people who need to be orchestrated. In Instamart, it's even more complex. There's a store involved. There's a guy who's picking the products. Temperatures need to be maintained at the right temperature, at the right place. Do you pick, the fruits and vegetable product first? Or do you pick the atta first? Or do you pick the ice cream first? Because each of it has its own nuances. Atta is heavy. Fruits and vegetables can get crushed. Ice cream will get melted. So, there's just a fair amount of nuance in as small things as that. Right from the pick logic to how the placement logic works, because you want efficiency in the way people run, to orchestrating all of this in near real time.
I don't think people even realize what you just said.
They absolutely don't. They absolutely don't. Yeah. I think one of the things is that it's very easy to look at any commerce business as front end and back end. Believe me, at the back end, the number of innovation, it's a whole different business. It's not even just a part of the business. It's a completely different business. And which is what we have seen.
And again, coming back to your point about how you underappreciated what this business does, and now you're getting a taste of, getting a taste of it.
I'll give you an example that, we did that, and you can do all of that at very small scale as well. Doing at scale without, essentially tech is important. I'll give an example, which blew away my mind, is the way that the system was able to actually predict that this particular SKU is going to be successful in this particular store. So please put it there. That is what, and now obviously it had multiple signals across the board to make it happen. Believe me, trying to do in any other business is almost impossible. More so
it's as much about data as it is about having feet on the street.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if you look at the number of people who are involved in our business, directly and indirectly, will go into millions. There's the whole restaurant network and the people there, and then there's the LV partner network and, et cetera, right? So managing this people is also a very, very big part of, at the end of the day, we are in many, many cases the fastest to employment. Right? If you are a new kid coming into Bombay, trying to find your feet, the fastest way you can probably get to employment right now is us. And people draw a little bit of a paintbrush stroke saying, okay, this is gig economy and stuff. But there's so many nuances in that. There is that young college student who's, on weekends trying to make money to keep himself running. There's this person who has higher ambition and looking at this as a stopgap solution. There's someone who's actually dependent on this.
Do you think you're also in many ways changing the way that people look at the workplace from a dignity of labor perspective? The notion of delivery boy or delivery wala. Do you believe that you're also changing the way that,
it's true.
People look at it?
Yeah, it's true. There is a reason why we call them delivery executives. When we started out, till 11 years back, right? Because people would have been looking a lot of this as delivery boys or chotu in many cases, right? Like you just call the restaurant, chotu ko bhej rahe hain. But I think, we probably end up helping people earn more than what typical white collar jobs are actually being provided as well, with the flexibility. The biggest reason why people come to us is the flexibility that I can log in whenever I want to, I can log off whenever I want to. There's some people who work only 2 days with us. There's some people who work 4 days with us. There's some people who work 6 days. It's because they want to do it. And actually, I interestingly saw a video the other day of not on the food delivery side, but one of the back taxi guys who was in a corporate white collar job, and he said, listen, I didn't want to put up with all the bullshit that was being dished out to me at work. Now I'm my own boss. I do what I want and I earn more than what I was at that point of time, right? So in that sense, we're quite proud in many ways to provide a platform that a lot of these people, can do what they want.
So let me end then by asking the two of you, and Amitesh, I'll start with you. Just in terms of the execution challenges that you foresee as you amplify and ramp up growth from here on, where do you feel the most comfortable today, and where do you feel some discomfort in terms of being able to deliver?
I think the one thing that I'm very comfortable is with the team. The team that we have built inside Instamart is a phenomenal team that is ensuring that day in, day out, everyone has the same ambition, same goal, same focus. And that is the reason why we have seen a lot of things that you would be seeing in the last 5 years, essentially, as well. The big discomfort that I always have is is going to be a big festive season.
Yeah.
I believe this festive season is the season. Last year, it was extremely big. Okay, and we thought, we don't know how much it will be after that. The curtain raiser for the festive season, which was Rakhi and Universal Ganesh Chaturthi, we have already seen the glimpse that is going to be one of the biggest, festive season for.
And add to that the possibility of GST cuts. How are you working your way towards that?
Yeah,
because that's expected to give a big consumption boost as well.
We believe a favorable GST cut will drive the consumption substantially. Festive season is the right time as well. We are well prepared for what we expect. We are absolutely not prepared for what we don't expect. So what is keeping myself very, very paranoid right now?
Are you factoring in the possibility of the cuts coming in, and that could perhaps lead to higher?
We have tried, but again, as I said, 3.5x in Rakhi was not expected. Okay, so we don't know. I mean, what is going to? So I'm really, really bothered about our inability to serve the consumer when they really come in hordes.
But you're saying you're getting indications that this is likely to be bigger than last year for sure.
Bigger than last year. It's going to be multiple times of last year.
Multiple times of last year.
The question is, how much are we able to essentially cater to it?
Okay, well, that's good to hear, and that would certainly be music to the government's ears as well, that we're seeing this big consumption boost. But, Phani, you were talking about the companies that have become verbs, so to speak, globally as their journeys have evolved. Are there specific companies that you look at or founders that you look at in terms of drawing inspiration from, and, where you would like Swiggy and Instamart to kind of be in that same category?
Yeah, see, I think there are few, right? As a company, I think we look at Amazon a fair bit globally, right? And, Jeff Bezos, of course, is very famous for the many things that he's done apart from the company itself, right? And the frameworks that he's built. A lot of our values are inspired by the leadership principles of Amazon as well, right? And that's something we learn a lot from, how we decentralize decision making. We have a doc writing culture which is there. We drive ownership, etc., etc. So that's something we feel very passionate, and hopefully at some point in time we can emulate a company like Amazon, right? Personally,
including market cap.
That's
I wouldn't complain. Yeah, but on a personal note, there are a couple of things which come to me close to home in India. I've spoken about this in the past as well. I think what Flipkart did to the Indian ecosystem is pretty insane. It kind of broke a lot of the glass ceilings that people may have had on, can consumer tech be really large? Is this a market where VCs can invest in? It definitely, in my view, opened the doors for a lot of new age founders to dream big. And we would love to build a company or a platform that gives a similar kind of inspiration for a next generation set of entrepreneurs, right? For example, one thing I keep thinking about is, there's not yet a truly global consumer internet company from India. There are a lot of SaaS companies that have come out. There are a lot of, IT companies that have come out which are truly global, but not as many consumer internet companies that have come out. A few people have tried, maybe not been as successful. Kudos for them for trying. And we'd love to be, not via Swiggy, but I would like to be somehow involved in the future in some shape or form where I can inspire a new generation of people to dream big.
But going global is not an aspiration.
No. In that sense, as a company, I want to clarify. As Swiggy, we are fully focused.
All in on India.
Yeah, we're fully focused on India. We are big believers in the Indian growth story. We actually did, as a company, evaluate the possibility of going abroad a few years back. Probably the best decision that we've done to stick focused on the Indian market. It's, as I said, we're very big on the Indian story. We believe in the power of compounding, right? Hopefully, let's see where it takes us.
So what is the dream? Let's end with that. What is the dream 5-10 years out for Swiggy and for Instamart that you as a founder have?
Yeah, as I spoke, right? Like for us, it's
100
million people 15 times a month.
100 million people 15 times a month.
Yeah.
And, ballpark, when do you believe you'll be able to get there?
See, they say, right, like you overestimate the short term and underestimate the long term. So my heart says, yeah, hopefully in the short term, but I think it'll probably be 10 years.
10 years.
A decade.
A decade. So that's the decadal dream for Swiggy and for Instamart. Phani and Amitesh, thanks very, very much for joining us here on Young Turks Reloaded, for really giving us a masterclass on the back end and the tech of running a quick commerce operation in India, what it takes. I don't think a lot of people realize and understand the complexity of that. But thanks very much for your time, and we wish you the very best of luck with your plans and your aspirations. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Young Turks Reloaded. From all of us here on the team for now, thanks very much for watching. Stay tuned. Do send us your feedback and your recommendations. We always like to hear from you. We'll see you again next week. Goodbye.